Okay, now this is pretty wild. Now, I'm sure you've seen many episodes of The Simpsons, or at least little clips of The Simpsons that appear to mimic things that happen, you know, in the real world, or what we think is the real world. Really weird, right? So, I've been diving deep into the research of these eclipses and these events that are taking place in the heavens, the astrotheological aspect of the Bible and ancient scriptures that go from Babylon, the Akkadian, the Hebrew, the Greek, the Roman, even some of the more like native traditions when you study the petroglyphs and what the ancients talked about. It's fascinating. And what's even more fascinating is the 40 days after, right? There's 40 days in the Bible. Like, so if we go to the scriptures and read about Nineveh and Jonah and Jesus, there's a passage in Matthew where Jesus is being questioned by the Pharisees, and they're like, well, give us a sign. And I'm going to read that to you in a minute because it brings up Jonah. So we're going to talk about it. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. And have you been keeping track of gold and silver? Woo-wee! It is hot. And I'll tell you, if you're like, wow, gold's almost $2,500 an ounce now. Well, we told you. We told you that at the beginning of the year, and many people were like, yeah, Rex, I think you're probably right. There was a couple people that left comments that said, Rex, do you want to bet gold won't get anywhere close to 2,500? You want to make a bet? And I was like, well, could we go to sports book and make a bet? Possibly. I felt that it was going to hit it. Now, obviously, there's never any guarantees. I'm not an expert. I have friends that are, and I research what the experts have to say. Well, folks, gold continues to reach all-time highs. Many experts are saying there's very little end, like they don't know where the end is. They see way more upside than downside, and they see that things with the way they are right now, especially overseas and the turmoil that's going on right now. How do I put this? Let's go back to 3000 BC, 5,000 years ago. Gold was used for exchange. Gold was used to purchase goods. It's been around a very long time. The stock market, it's awesome, but has it been around as long? No. If you got a 401 or IRA, you should give Noble Gold a call. They will convert your 401 or IRA into precious metals, and you can convert into cryptos. And if you qualify, find out how. They will gift you a 1/4 ounce solid gold coin to add to your collection. Now, if you are in the market to purchase metals, you should definitely give Noble Gold Investments a call. I know a lot of people that are purchasing junk silver, like silver dimes that are like when they used to make solid or almost solid silver, like 90% silver dimes back in the day. Well, that could be a great form of exchange. Give them a call. Let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you. If you go to leakprojectgold.com and you click that link, they have free ebooks that you can get to help you get out of the rat race. They will help you on the phone. They're very friendly. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They have tons of 5-star reviews. I've been with Noble Gold Investments now for like 7 years. You should definitely give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. And let's get into this, shall we? Hello. And we're going to talk about the eclipse and the location of the eclipse, and the location of the eclipse being in conjunction with a galaxy called Cetus, or not a galaxy, but a constellation called Cetus, which is referred to as the whale. And the names of the towns in Texas, like Jonah and Nineveh, that goes throughout the U.S. There's several towns named Nineveh and Salem, etc. So we're going to look at these scriptures. We're going to look at the 19th episode of season 16, The Last Supper. Homer has a scene at a bar towards the end of the episode that mimics The Last Supper. It's very interesting. All right, so I'm going to go to this page right here. We're going to take a look at the first page that I have on the slides that I'd like to share with you, or on the tabs, I should say. This is also interesting, okay? I'm sorry. This one's titled, Thank God It's Doomsday. Tell me if you find this to be quite an interesting synchronicity. I just found this today. I just pulled this up today. If you go and look at the video that I did yesterday, I'm not mountain biking. I was road biking up Cumbre Pass, it starts in northern New Mexico and it goes up to southern Colorado, and it takes you up to over 10,000 feet elevation. And as I'm biking, beautiful blue skies, although it's pretty cold and it's pretty dang windy. I hear a plane, I look up, and I see this all white plane with no markings. Very few like the contrails behind it are super minimal, and it just stands out. It's way up there. It's huge. And I'm like, that looks like one of those doomsday planes. So I film it, I upload it, I even put on the title, Doomsday Plane Spotted, something like that. And then today we're pulling up the episode, Thank God It's Doomsday, by The Simpsons. Whoa. Oh, man, it feels like we're in the Matrix sometimes. But what's fascinating about this, if we're going to connect more of the dots, the end of the world is predicted by Homer Simpson, and it actually takes place not the 18th of May, like he predicts at first, or somebody that's in the episode, but the 19th of May. So if we go back to the Bible, it talks about how Jonah shares a warning with Nineveh, and if Nineveh doesn't repent in 40 days, they will be invaded. Their civilization will fall, so they need to repent. And it's referring to also like the signs in the heavens, and it's talking about these eclipses. Well, now we look at the totality path that creates an X over America, which is considered the new Babylon. And we go back to the ancient Babylon, where much of the Bible originated, and then the founding fathers of America, many of them have this knowledge passed down through multiple generations in mystery schools and secret societies, that it's knowledge that goes back to ancient Babylon and possibly before. So they establish a new land, a new civilization here in America, the new Babylon, knowing that at a certain time, this eclipse would go over America, and the totality path that they foresaw. Well, why not name certain towns along these totality paths Nineveh as a sign for everybody to see that in the future, there will be events that take place that link to civilizations and politics and social ideologies and wars and trials and tribulations, and also new opportunities and new life and new beginnings. So a lot of people have looked at this as a very, like, there's been a lot of fear propaganda in this eclipse, and I've been on the optimistic side saying, hey, let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on something beautiful and healing and helpful for the world. You know, we're focusing on a certain day that does not only have implications where everybody's connected and they're thinking certain thoughts that are connected to this eclipse, this event that actually changes the physiological makeup of the planet, because it is blocking the sun for a certain amount of time, blocking neutrinos and other elements that are coming in and other energies. But if we go back to this episode, in this episode, the prediction of the end of the world was made based upon the Last Supper having 12 disciples. But then they figured out that there's actually 13 people in the Last Supper, so that changed the apocalypse end date by one day. What I find interesting is we're going to this end of the world once again, or this date of an apocalypse, connecting it with Jesus, and many people have connected this eclipse with the return of the Christ. Now, I am not saying that's what I think is going to happen, because I am agnostic in that regard, meaning I don't know. I have my own ideas and thoughts, and I'll share that with you later. But it's fascinating how many people, and even in the scriptures, when this passage is an example, let me share this passage with you. Matthew 12:40. Well, actually, let's go to 12:39. And he, Jesus, answering, said to them, a generation evil and adulterous doth seek a sign, and the sign shall not be given to it except the sign of Jonah the prophet. For as Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. Men of Nineveh shall stand up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, for they reformed at the proclamation of Jonah, and lo, a greater than Jonah here. A queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, for she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and lo, a greater than Solomon here. And when the unclean spirit may go forth from the man, it doth walk through dry places, seeking rest, and doth not find. I want to show you this real quick. The April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse will be visible in the constellation Cetus, also known as the Well. The constellation is located in the middle of the sea, a collection of constellations associated with water. Other members of this group include Eridanus, Pisces, Austrinus, and Aquarius. It's pretty cool. Once again, we have that as above, so below astrotheology connection. The 2024 eclipse in Jonah, Texas. Here is the constellation Cetus. You can see right here. And, I thought it was interesting because it does appear, politically speaking, there's certain signs that project we are turning our back towards the God of our founding fathers and many religions around the world, right? Or the beliefs that are connected to the biblical God, or what people refer to as the biblical God. You can see right here. Now, I did some research on this, and allegedly this design, if you see to the right where George Washington is looking away from where it says, in God we trust. That's the wind. I thought somebody was here. I was like, whoa, what was that? But if you look to the left, like 2021, you'll see in God we trust, and George Washington is looking at in God we trust. And then away from it, 2022. Now, this might have absolutely nothing to do with what a lot of people are speculating, that George Washington is actually looking away from God. Allegedly, this design was from like 1931, I think. So it is interesting, but I don't know, something to think about. Another thing that's really interesting is, and I did find a few, Nixon actually, when Nixon ran, his logo had the upside down star, similar to what you'll see from 1994 through 2015. You will see that the stars are upside down in the Republican elephant. And then if we go to the left of that, 1874 through 2000, you do have the star pointing upward. Now, this is from 1000logos.net. And I did find, like I said, another logo that had the upside down stars connected to Nixon. And somebody said there was one connected to Reagan for one, just like a pin. I don't know if this is official logo or whatever, but I didn't see that, so I can't confirm that. But the flipping of the stars, that's interesting. I did a whole breakdown on Revelation a while back that I think we were pretty much able to connect almost every single chapter of Revelation to a specific event that took place starting around 1990, at least for this more modern cycle, and a certain speech that President Bush Sr. gave when invading Iraq the first time, previous to that. This is also very interesting because if you look at George Washington in this statue, you will see he's pointing up and then he's got the left hand like this. He's got the left arm out and the left foot out, but it almost looks like ancient Egyptian or ancient Greek or ancient Roman. I was actually more ancient Roman, I would say. It also is very similar to the Baphomet pose. If you look at this picture of Baphomet, you will see the right arm pointing up, just like George Washington, and the left arm is pointing down. Although he does have his legs crossed in this one, whereas George Washington has the left foot out and the right foot in. And George Washington also appears to have some type of dagger in his left hand that he is handing out, but he is pointing that downward. So there is quite a bit of similarity here between the two. They aren't exact, and it's just making me think once again of ancient Babylon. Here's an image you can see. This is an image of the episode that I was telling you about earlier with Homer Simpson at the end of the episode at the bar, and it's similar to the Last Supper. It's the Last Supper parody, obviously. Now, the eclipse in the Bible, according to the book of Jonah, the Nineveh people repented dramatically after an eclipse, which some believe was an omen of impending destruction. Ancient cultures, including Assyria, saw eclipses as such. In 763 BC, the Assyrian Empire, which occupied what is now Iraq, experienced a complete eclipse lasting 5 minutes. Early records from that period mention the eclipse in the same passage as an insurrection in the city of Ashur, suggesting that the ancient people linked the two in their minds. Now, the book of the prophet Nahum is almost exclusively taken up with prophetic denunciations against Nineveh, foretelling its ruin and utter desolation. Bible Gateway, Nahum or Nahum, the burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. A God zealous and avenging is Jehovah. An avenger is Jehovah, and possessing fury, an avenger is Jehovah on his adversaries. And he is watching for his enemies. Jehovah is slow to anger and great in power, and Jehovah doth not entirely acquit in a hurricane, and in a tempest is his way, and the cloud is the dust of his feet. He is pushing against the sea and drieth it up. Yeah, all the floods he hath made dry, languishing are Bashan and Carmel. Yeah, the flower of Lebanon is languishing. Mountains have shaken because of him, and the hills have been melted, and lifted up is the earth at his presence, and the world and all dwelling in it. Before his indignation, who doth stand, and who riseth up in the heat of his anger? His fury hath been poured out like fire, and the rocks have been broken by him. Good is Jehovah for a strong place in a day of distress, and he knoweth those trusting in him. And with the flood passing over, an end he maketh of its place, and his enemies doth darkness pursue. What do we devise against Jehovah? An end he is making, arise not twice doth distress. For while princes are perplexed, and while their drink are drunken, they have been consumed as stubble fully dried. From thee hath come forth a deviser of evil against Jehovah, a worthless counselor. Thus said Jehovah, though complete and thus many, yet thus they have been cut off, and he hath passed away. And I afflicted thee, I afflict thee no more. And now I break his rod from off thee, and thy bands I do draw away. And command concerning thee hath Jehovah, no more of thy name doth spread abroad from the house of thy gods. I cut off graven and molten image. I appoint thy grave, for thou hast been vile. Interesting. From the house of the gods I cut off graven and molten image. I appoint thy grave, for thou hast been vile. Lo, on the mountains, the feet of one proclaiming tidings, sounding peace. Celebrate, O Judah, thy festivals, complete thy vows, for add no more to Passover. Into thee doth the worthless. He hath been completely cut off. This is interesting. Listen to this. It turns out Nineveh is believed to have been primed for the message of Jonah. Cuneiform tablets found in the 19th century describe what is known as the Bur-Sagal eclipse, which was verified also by NASA. That occurred June 15th, 763 BC. The path to totality was right over Nineveh. It also says 2 years before there was a plague so bad the king was not able to go out to war, as was their custom, followed by a civil war and another plague. By the time Jonah got there, they had to realize this must be the answer to why they were having all of those problems. They didn't make excuses. They buckled up and showed God they were all willing as a nation to change and follow him. Like Luke 21, 25, 28. There will be signs in sun and moon and stars, and on the earth dismay among nations, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. But when these things begin to take place, straighten up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. So, folks, I have a lot of hope. I'm optimistic. This could be a beautiful opportunity if we can just focus and have the right thoughts and intentions and be co-creators. I mean, clearly, if the grand architect doesn't want that, then let's focus on what we can change and not worry about what we can't. And I want to say thank you so much for watching. I want to get your thoughts about the connections that episode has from the Simpsons and the Eclipse and the biblical scriptures and the towns that are close to the totality path. I keep wanting to say totalitarity. Totalitarity. Very strange. I don't know why. But I hope you have a beautiful day. Hit the bell, be well. Check us out on Patreon also. We have a ton of exclusive content on Patreon. You can really use your support there and be the change you want to see.